Howdy, over in YouTube land. Yakate Gross, House, Texas. Hey, folks, Johnny Practical Nurse here. So, I'm enjoying the last day of my holiday. I've been taking a few days off from work, a little bit of R&R from my job at the hospital, but I'm a farmer, folks, and a prepper, so to me, I tell people that those are full-time jobs, and that me taking holiday away from the hospital is just a way of having one less job to go to every day. But I got asked the question because I went to the gun shop the other day. I was talking to some people, and they asked me a very simple question. One, because President Trump, should we stop prepping? Easy answer, no, and we'll elaborate a little bit into that. And number two, the question had two parts. Basically, it was about prepping in general. For how long and how much? Well, people ask for whether or not we should stop prepping. The answer to that's a great big no. And I will sit there and tell you this, folks. Let me keep this brief as much as possible because I want to enjoy some of this beautiful weather out at my range. And to say this, that we are not out of the water yet. We are a nation divided right now. We've got a lot of issues that we've got to take care of. Those of us that voted for Trump, we knew that no matter which way the election actually came out, there was going to be some discord and some disgruntled people, no matter which way it turned. For people that think that we are not in a civil war right now, it is civil, okay? We are just throwing insults back and forth to each other, and some of us are giving a salute, for want of a better term, to each other, which is exactly what our enemies want us to be. You can have your own theories about why that is. I just look at things for reality, people. I can't go 70 miles down the road without somebody wanting to throw something at a person's vehicle because they have a I support Trump sticker or Trump for president sticker, which I think is wrong, people. I mean, just Trump is our president. I said our. If you live in America, he is our president. If you live in another country, he is the president of the United States. Get over it, okay? Just get over it, all right? Because the flip side is not very nice. So people ask me, should we stop prepping? No, and I will tell you why. Right now, we're in a civil war. We're just throwing words back and forth and a few other things. Do I think it's a matter of time before something else happens? Well, it already kind of has. Look at how many people are trying to chain themselves across the highway. Okay, people, to some degree, as a nurse, I will call, and as a kind of an anthropology person who likes to study up on that kind of stuff, I call that natural selection. If you're stupid enough to stand on a highway and you get hit by a car, don't blame the car, don't blame the driver. That person was dumb enough to get in the highway, okay? Geez, stop them before they breed or something. But it's only a matter of time before it goes from that to an actual shooting match or trying to shut down the electricity or trying to shut down a water supply or something of that nature. These are what I call domestic terrorists, people. Any way you slice it, go look at the two words domestic and terrorist, put them together, and these are nothing more than domestic terrorists, people. Period. Luckily, I live in Texas, and you have a right to defend yourself, okay? There's my take on that. Again, people, this is just what goes on in my head. Please, if you have any questions or comments, put them below. Now, as for how much and for how long, depending on your age, folks, and this is a lot of variables to that part of the question. I will sit there and say this. If you're really young and in your 20s and your grandparents are still alive, ask them how long that they had to go without utilities, electricity, water. Do they remember a time when there was a gas shortage, like I remember being a child remembering a gas shortage in America? So bad that you couldn't get your grocery stores refilled because trucks that transported food could not get to the grocery stores, especially those of us who live in the rural areas. Luckily, a lot of us who are farmers, we provide our own. I can go out to my chicken coop over there, get 2 eggs in the morning, go out to my plum trees right over there. You can probably see them from here, very tiny. But I go get 2 plums, and there was breakfast for me. Okay? So, but people, not everyone has that, especially those of you who live in the apartments. If your family says, like I remember Hurricane Katrina, which lasted, the situation lasted about a month, there's you a starting port. Start prepping for about a month. I remember a couple of years ago, we lost power for about a week and a few days, so about 10 days, because we had 60 days of below freezing temperatures here in Central Texas, and it knocked out the power lines to some of these places, and they can't fix them all. The electrical companies couldn't come and fix them all. So we had to do without power for about 10 days. There's another starting point, for your backup generators. Again, those of you folks who live in apartments, this is what I'm going to sit there and say to y'all. If you have friends or cousins who live in the country who are like me and they kind of live a life of being able to sustain themselves, make nice with them. If you've got a cousin like Cousin Billy Bob lives out in the country and he's got goats or something like that, hey, get out there and pull some sweat equity, because if something really bad happens and you got to get out, you got to bug out of that apartment you're living in, get over to your Cousin Billy Bob and work out a deal. Look, for room and board, I will work out here, because trust me, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Okay? All right? No such thing as a free lunch, people. Somebody pays for it. If you're going to take up residence in your Cousin Billy Bob's house, you better get the use that you're going to be putting on a pair of gloves, a pair of boots, some good work clothes, and get at it. Just that's the way it is, folks. Now, how long should you prep for it? You say you live in an apartment. Well, obviously you can't have an arsenal in there. You can't have multiple firearms like some of my cousins here in Texas do. They have rooms dedicated to this stuff. They got bunkers and they got connexes, people out there. But if you're living in an apartment, people, this is something I really emphasize, and you can go back to my other video I put out about a year or so ago about 10 things you need to have before the elections or any other disaster, and some of you got the gist of the joke. But if you live in an apartment, people, and your main job is to bug out, I want you to always make sure that your gas tank is full, okay? You're not one of these kind of people that let it hover around a quarter of a tank or empty. Man, if you got to give up cigarettes or alcohol or something like that to make sure that you're prepared, so be it. Me, I like to go shooting. I like my firearms. I like my prep gear. So I decided that alcohol and cigarettes, tobacco, dip, and all that stuff just wasn't important in my life. Okay? Just to make sure that, you keep your gas tank full to get you out of where you are. And carry enough gear, people, if you had to get out on foot. Now listen to this very carefully. If you have to get out on foot to get you to that destination of where you're bugging into, keep enough gear to sustain you, i.e. have a way to get water, to filter water. Let's say it takes you, the average person, people can walk 7 to 10 miles a day, so calculate that in and see how many days it's going to take you. If it takes you 3 days, people, I would stick 3 MREs in your bug out bag, because people, each MRE averages about 1,250 calories, which is enough to keep you from starving. Okay, water for 3 days. Okay, or ways to obtain water and know where your water points are, people. If you use a life straw, or like me, I have one of those Katadyn filters. Use that. Keep that on hand. But that's where I want you guys in the apartment to think about. Have a compact firearm like a carbine or a pistol. Have enough ammunition now to maintain you. Now, people, I'm not sitting there and saying have 11 mags. Okay, my average daily load and what I keep on my combat gear, just in case something happens, basically I keep 7 mags because that's what I'm adapted to from being in the military. Some of you may say that's enough. Well, here's my thing. It's not enough if you go looking for a fight. But if you avoid a fight, if you try to stay kind of subdued, become the gray person, stay out of sight, it should be plenty. Again, the word being should. You know where you live. You know where you're going to be getting to. Let that be your guide, okay? But again, people, I'm going to sit there and say this. You're like me, you carry carbine, 210 rounds minimum, 7 mags, okay? It doesn't matter if it's an AK, or an AR, keep that much ammunition handy. Now, mind you, people, keep this stuff light. Be able to throw it in your car or your truck, all right, and get you where you got to go. Those of us that live out in the country, well, most of us believe in bugging in. I have renewable sources of food. It was just raining out this morning. Guess what I have? A water catchment system. Can you drink rain water out of the barrel? I wouldn't advise it, okay? As a nurse and as a survivalist, I wouldn't advise it. But folks, you get where I'm coming from, okay? These are starting points, okay? How much, how long? Like I said, people, how much is the length of time that it may take you to get from someplace to survive the catastrophe that, like your grandparents did do. A lot of us remember Hurricane Katrina. There was a hurricane that struck, was it Sandy or whatever, that struck the East Coast, and they were out of power for, I want to say about the same amount of time we had our freeze in, okay? I want to say it was like 2007 or 2010. where we had no power for 10 days. So those of you who live way up north, you guys get snowed in for quite a long time. Let that be your guide. But those are the minimum points, people, that I recommend you start. And do I recommend you to stop prepping? No. A good friend of mine has told me, one subscriber said, hey man, these preps, the cost of them are killing me. Nobody said you had to go out and buy 2,000 rounds of ammunition at one time. Do what I do, a box at a time, until you reach that 210 mark. A can of chicken, a can of canned chicken, a can of tuna fish. I mean, things that protein that will keep you going. Grab a few vitamin packs and take with you. Protein bars, water, people, water, 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 most important. Remember your rules of 3, people, okay, of survivability. 3 minutes without oxygen, 3 days without water, 3 weeks without food. Believe it or not, people, I hate to say it, but as a nurse, I've actually seen how long people have been down and out and laying in the middle of their floor, and they live out in the middle of nowhere. No one's gone to go check on them. 2 or 3 weeks later, they're still alive. Sit in the same place, not exactly a very clean or pretty environment because of the situations of being human bodily functions, but they're still alive, okay? Just some things to think about, folks. If you have any questions, comments, leave them down below, people. I'm Johnny Practical Nurse. I'll entertain them all. I try to get back with as many of you as I possibly can. If for some reason I don't catch something, don't worry. It's okay to tap me on the shoulder. I'm Texas friendly and Texas proud. Until I see y'all again, I'm Johnny the Nurse, Practical Nurse, and I'll see you next time.